In 1803, Japan was an isolated nation, with its shores rarely breached by outsiders. Wars raged within, military leaders rose and fell, and dynasties came and went, while the rest of the world remained mostly unaware. After banning nearly all foreign interactions in the early 1600s, Japan stayed cut off from the outside world until the 1850s. The isolation was so strict that any Japanese citizen who left and tried to return could face death. Yet one peculiar event, occurring long before Japan opened up, caused quite a stir. It involved a few fishermen stumbling upon something unusual in the sea. A strange vessel, unlike anything seen before, was found drifting off the coast of Japan. Inside this mysterious boat was a woman like no one had ever seen, with features and a language that were completely unknown. Was the vessel a product of some distant culture, or perhaps a mermaid from Japanese folklore? Could it have been something as simple as a spy from another country, or something more extraordinary, perhaps even otherworldly, a UFO? Our story begins in between February or March of 1803. Picture a group of local fishermen going about their day off the coast of Hitachi Province, modern-day Ibaraki Prefecture. Suddenly, they spot something weird floating in the water, a vessel unlike anything they've ever seen. Is it a boat? Is it a shipwreck? Curiosity piqued. They towed it ashore and were immediately struck by its bizarre appearance. The vessel, later dubbed the *utsuro-bune*, literally hollow boat, was a bizarre piece of craftsmanship. The vessel was described as resembling an incense burner or rice pit, shaped like a spinning top. It measured about 11 feet tall and 18 feet wide. Its bottom was made of metal, possibly iron or steel, and the upper part featured lacquered rosewood. The upper part of the vessel had several windows made of glass or crystal, covered with bars, and sealed with a type of tree resin, clearly not your average fishing boat. Imagine that, steel and glass in a time when Japan was still largely isolated and technologically conservative. But the real shocker was what, or rather who, they found inside. As the villagers inspected the vessel, a hatch suddenly opened, revealing the second surprise of the day, a woman unlike anything they had ever seen. Her age was estimated to be between 18 and 20 years old. She stood 5 feet tall, with pale skin and striking red hair, which, by the way, wasn't something you'd see every day in Japan, and wore clothes made from an unknown fabric. Even more peculiar, the ends of her red hair were bright white, as if dusted with powder or woven with fur. Because the windows were completely transparent and the woman was out of the vessel, the fishermen could see the inside of the boat now. Inside, the villagers found several fascinating items. There were 2 bed sheets, a bottle filled with about 3.6 liters of water, some cake, and kneaded meat. All these suggest that she had planned this voyage to some extent. The inner walls of the vessel were decorated with texts written in an unknown language, adding to the mystery. According to some books, one of the symbols inside even resembled South Korea's current flag. It quickly became clear that communication was a major hurdle. The villagers quickly realized that despite her friendly demeanor as she spoke a language no one could understand, and it became pretty clear she didn't understand them either. This only fueled more speculation and curiosity about her origins and the purpose of her journey. What really added to the mystery was clutching a small, rectangular box about 2 feet long, and she refused to let it go, no matter how much anyone tried to ask her about it. It seemed to be very important to her. She held it tightly and did not let anyone else touch it. She held it like her life depended on it. Lack of communication, strange appearance, never seen objects, an obsession over a box. It's like one after another peculiar twist of a story. So, what was a community of 19th century Japanese villagers supposed to do with this enigma of a woman and her bizarre boat? That's where things get even more interesting. The village elders, who were the decision makers, gathered to discuss what to do with this enigmatic visitor. They examined the vessel and the woman, noting her strange appearance and the peculiar items she carried, including the mysterious box she held so tightly. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't make sense of the situation or the woman's origins. Then, one local elder recalled hearing of a similar incident in another village years prior. He believed the woman was a foreign princess, exiled for defying an arranged marriage and choosing her true love instead. Her lover, he claimed, was executed, and she was banished. The box she held so desperately, he speculated, contained her lover's severed head. The elder advised that sending her back to sea was a merciful act, aligning with her fate, and suggested the villagers do the same. Fearing the unknown and the potential consequences of harboring a stranger with such mysterious circumstances, the elders decided it was safest to return her to the sea. They believed that keeping her in the village might bring unforeseen trouble or bad luck. So, with a mix of reluctance and caution, they placed the woman back into her vessel and set it adrift once more, allowing the currents to carry her away. Well, considering the country's strict isolation policy at the time, the villagers who encountered the utsuro-bune were likely terrified of what the government might do if they were found harboring a foreigner, let alone a potential alien. Japan had been closed off to almost all foreign contact since the early 1600s, a policy known as *Sakoku*. From the early 1600s until the 1850s, Japan had shut itself off from the outside world. Foreign trade was severely restricted, and any Japanese who left the country faced severe consequences if they tried to return. So, a mysterious foreign woman showing up in such a strange vessel was not just unusual, it was practically unheard of. Given this context, it's no wonder the villagers, fearful of potential government repercussions, decided to follow the advice of a local elder. The villagers decided to send the mysterious woman back to sea, rather than risk the wrath of the authorities. What happened to the people who first saw it? Interestingly, there isn't much information about what happened to the fishermen and villagers who first encountered the utsuro-bune. Given the strict societal norms of the time, they likely went back to their daily lives, trying to forget the whole bizarre incident. There's no record of any punishment or reward, which suggests that they kept things pretty hush-hush. Probably a smart move, considering the circumstances. The story of the utsuro-bune quickly spread and was documented in several historical texts from 1815 to 1844, with the core details remaining consistent. The mystery fits into a broader Japanese tradition of tales about solitary women arriving in strange vessels. For example, in 1698, a similar story was recorded in Toyohashi, where a lone woman emerged from an odd boat, tried to communicate with locals, and eventually sailed off toward Nagasaki. Other legends also describe mysterious women arriving in unusual vessels, sometimes staying with locals or disappearing forever. Despite being documented, the stories of the utsuro-bune often reference people or places that seem fictional, blurring the lines between history and folklore. Several connections link the legend to the wider world, particularly to Russia. The woman's description resembles Russian clothing and hairstyles from the late 1700s, a similarity first noted by Japanese historian Kyokutai Bakin in 1844. He based his observations on the accounts of Daikokuya Kodayu, a Japanese castaway who lived in Russia from 1782 to 1792. While some speculate that the vessel's strange markings might be Russian script, recreations show no resemblance to Cyrillic characters. The utsuro-bune story may be a modern retelling of the origin of the Kono clan, a famous Japanese legend. In this tale, a 7th century fisherman discovered a 13-year-old girl in a hollow boat at sea. The girl, who was the Chinese emperor's daughter, fleeing an abusive stepmother, later married a prince from Iyo province, and their son founded the Kono clan. The concept of a foreign woman arriving in a strange vessel wasn't new in Japan, and the utsuro-bune legend might have been influenced by this popular story. Over the years, various theories have emerged about the origins of the utsuro-bune and the mysterious woman. Some historians suggest that the woman and her vessel might have origins in Russia, as her appearance and the design of the utsuro-bune resemble Russian fashion and technology from the late 1700s. In 1844, Japanese historian Kyokutei Bakin speculated that the strange symbols inside the vessel could be Russian script, but no definitive link to any known alphabet has been found, leaving this theory unproven. Another theory, popular among ufologists, is that the utsuro-bune was an early UFO encounter. The vessel's unusual design and the unknown language inside have led some to speculate that it might have been of extraterrestrial origin. UFO theorists argue that these symbols represent alien script, characters from a language not of this earth. They contend that the symbols could not be matched to any known alphabet because they originate from an extraterrestrial source. Enthusiasts of the UFO theory view the legend of the utsuro-bune as evidence of pre-modern extraterrestrial contact, a close encounter of the third kind. So, what's the latest on this intriguing mystery? Recent research and discussions continue to explore the possibility that the utsuro-bune legend may have been a combination of various cultural influences and folklore. While no concrete evidence supports the UFO theory, the story remains a fascinating piece of history and speculation. Scholars and enthusiasts alike are still piecing together clues and analyzing historical records to uncover more about this enigmatic event. Was the utsuro-bune a UFO, or simply an extraordinary tale influenced by Japanese isolation and folklore? The mystery endures, leaving us with more questions than answers.